I've always just want to explore and go to different places because I'm naturally curious. Like how I was when I was a little girl. I want to go this place. What's over there?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's dangerous. Let's go.
Ah, so you're one of those, right?
I'm one of those.
We're like, oh shoot, it's crazy. But
yeah, let's go see what's up. At the end of the day, we're all just human beings. I feel like even if you go to a lot of dangerous places in the world, you can still connect with people.
Right.
Because we're all human beings living on planet Earth, just living in a different world. Like, you know, different worlds in our minds.
This episode today, we're gonna just have a conversation, right? Joe and I, we've been friends for a couple years now. We met about 3 years ago and just kind of clicked. And I was doing my thing, she was doing her thing, but we're both very creative people. And we decided to have a conversation to let everybody know what we're all about, why we're here, why you want to listen to this podcast, and just kind of get to know each other. So. Yeah, welcome. In this podcast, you'll get to know us. You'll get to hear, what we're doing as far as following our bliss, like why we're doing this, and our main goal, at least my goal, and then you can also share your goals. Is just to show people that hey, it's never too late or never too soon to follow your bliss, find your purpose, and do your passion. So, welcome. So I guess. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead and give us a little bit. Tell us, your thoughts.
Like you said, we met like 3 years ago. From the first time we met, we were just talking. Must have been like an hour or so. But, we realized we have a lot of things in common. And he reached out to me not too long ago. And he knows I love traveling. I love photography. I love art. I love culture. And, we both like growth, mindset, and personal development type of stuff. So that's why we're starting this. And, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and please forgive the no headphones because we're still figuring it out. But they say done is better than perfect, right? So
yeah,
we're actually getting this done, right? And it's going to get better. This will be the number one podcast in the world. I guarantee you. That's our goal. Our goal is to travel, inspire people, do what we love, follow our passion, follow our bliss, and then hopefully inspire people on the way. So. Let's talk about a couple things. First and foremost, I guess, Joe, you live in San Francisco area, right? San Francisco. Tell us a little bit about living in San Francisco.
Oh, man. I'm very much used to the East Bay weather. It's pretty cold. It's windy. We do get some hot days here and there, but, every morning it's always going to be foggy. Whenever I do travel out of San Francisco, I always have to consider what the weather is going to be in Oakland, Berkeley, Vallejo, Richmond, just in other places. But living there, my neighborhood is pretty safe. It's quiet. I see the same thing outside my window every day. Even though the whole world, there's a lot of things going on in the whole world. I look outside the window. It's almost surreal because it's so peaceful and quiet and empty.
Yeah.
And I'm just going about my day.
Yeah. Most people would think San Francisco is like crazy, like city life, like loud, like always happening. So the part that you're in is very mellow.
It's right next to Lake Merced. So basically, they built this development. It's basically, the concept is like a city in a city.
A city in a city.
Yeah, like in San Francisco. So like whenever you go around that area, it's a whole different vibe. Okay. Different place, yeah. Considering different parts of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were used to the East Bay.
Yeah.
So that's where you're originally from. East
Bay?
Bay?
Yeah. I grew up. So I was born in the Philippines. I came here when I was 10 years old, and I grew up in the Bay Area. But I mainly grew up in the East Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say like Vallejo, Richmond, San Pablo. I lived in Hayward. Union City, Concord. But yeah, I've gone to school in Berkeley, Oakland. Yeah.
Wow, all over the East Bay.
510. My phone number is 510. So yeah.
There you go, 510, right?
That's my forever area code for sure.
Okay, forever area code.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Because I grew up in the South Bay here. We're in San Jose right now, and I grew up in the South Bay. I'm a South Bay kid, But if you're familiar with the Bay Area, if you're here, if you're not from here, there's like the East Bay, there's the South Bay, there's the North Bay. And, and in the peninsula and all that. So my area code's 408, right? And so I did move away, and I don't think I ever changed my area code, which is kind of funny because I lived in Southern California. And I lived in Florida, and I think I always had a 408 area code, so that's true. So you're a 510, and
Yeah, I'm a 510 girl for life. Yeah.
There you go. But then you mentioned that you're originally from the Philippines.
Yeah, I was born there.
So you're born there. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I remember when I was 5 years old. I remember hearing from my mom and my aunts and them like, oh, we're going to America. Basically, they started petitioning us when I was 5 years old, and then it took 5 years for us to get to America.
Wow.
I had no idea. Like I was just a little kid and just living my life, playing with my friends, like going to school, and next thing you know, it's time to go. And I just remember feeling that like, oh my God, I'm about to leave my friends.
Yeah.
I'm about to leave my cousins and my relatives and the people that I've grown to love and grew up with, and considered like, wow, these are my family and even my neighbors. And I remember feeling that pain in a way, like that trauma as a 10-year-old, and I was like, I am about to leave these people. And I remember feeling that sadness, and then I realized there's nothing I could do. I just have to keep going.
I mean, just thinking about that, like I've never had to leave like a country, you know what I mean? Like especially being 5 years old or 10 years old, like it was cool that you were actually aware of that. Like I'm actually leaving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what was that like? Like what was your feelings? What were your thoughts like?
Yeah, so I think I could remember. I think when I was 5 years old, I think I just remember like them mentioning at one point, right? Of course, I was 5. Like, what the hell am I gonna remember, right? But from then on, when it happened, step by step, year by year, whatever. Like when I was 10 years old, I was like, holy shit, we're really leaving, you know? And I remember saying bye to my friends, and I could remember this feeling of like, in a way, like emptiness, because like I said, I got a lot of my bliss.
There you go.
Like a lot of my excitement. Right? When I was in the Philippines, when me and my friends would just go outside, go play in the rain, go play outside in the rain. It's like you don't have to spend anything, right? Yeah. You don't have to go too far. If there's like a not a tsunami, what do you call that? Like that.
Shoot, on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, we'll get back to
it.
When it rains a lot,
like heavy rain. There's
I can't.
Typhoon
or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. A rainstorm.
I look forward to going outside and playing in the rain. That's one of the things I miss the most. Living in the Philippines, living in a tropical country. And after we just play, we just go back inside the house and obviously take a shower to clean up. And then my mom, was really nice enough to let us do that whenever it rains. So that was really cool. It was nice. And then I remember me and my friends would just go outside and go play, do whatever before video games started happening, obviously. But we would have like different toys to play with and stuff, and just interacting. Like that was a really amazing social life, I would say.
They don't do that. They don't do that anymore these days.
Yeah, because they're all about technology and stuff. So I remember me and some of my friends would even like hop on a jeepney and then commute and go somewhere else. I forgot where we would go, but
hop on a what?
Hop on a jeepney.
What's that?
The jeepney, like the ride. It's like a tuk-tuk.
Oh,
but
the tuk-tuk
like the bigger,
thing.
bigger one.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Okay, I'll show you a photo.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in the Philippines yet.
When we get a real cool podcast, we'll be able to pull it up, kind of like Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll have the producer pull it up. Yeah. So what's it called again?
A jeepney.
Jeepney.
Yeah,
okay.
like a
jeep
jeep.
and a knee.
Like a no. I'll show you a photo. Anyway, I remember hopping on that. I remember like feeling a little nervous because I was like going somewhere else where I shouldn't go, and I was like, dude, I was like maybe 9 years old. I wasn't even 10 yet. Going somewhere with my friends. I don't remember where we went. Maybe see another friend. I do remember getting in trouble when I got back home. My mom was like worried, sick, like, where were you? And got whooped and stuff. But anyway.
Another thing they don't do anymore, whoop your kids, right?
Yeah. And when there's no school any other days, we would just go outside, go play.
Yeah.
it was exciting.
Yeah.
You wake up early in the morning, you just go
Yeah.
do whatever.
You mentioned the rain was your favorite. What was it about the rain that, like, did you feel like you were in a different place? Like,
It was cooling because
cooling?
it's hot as hell.
Yeah.
It's hot as hell in the Philippines.
No
It's
AC, right?
very humid. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't. You know, I don't live in a AC air conditioned environment growing up in the Philippines, so the rain was very cooling.
Yeah.
And like just it's like you're taking a shower outside without actually taking a
Yeah.
shower, just playing. And then it would get a little flooded a little bit
Yeah.
in certain areas, but we just kick the water
Yeah.
into someone and just like yeah.
So I guess it makes sense because it's kind of like have fun, but also cool down and
Yeah,
feel good
cool
at the same
down.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, tropical. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the Philippines is tropical. Is it because I used to live in Florida for a little while, and that was the first time I ever experienced tropical weather, right?
Yeah.
But what I remember was that it rained every day, but it would only rain for like an hour or two. But it'd be like an absolute storm, and then it's beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
is that kind of how it was in the Philippines, or
No.
would it just continue to rain?
No.
No?
There's different seasons in the Philippines. So there's like I said, the typhoon season.
Typhoon, yeah, okay.
That usually, from what I can remember, it usually happens like sometime in the end of the year.
So, like,
I
December?
don't remember, but like, because I remember when I was there back in 2011. I think October. So August, was it August, September, October, for 2 months. I was out there for 2 months. It rained majority of the time.
Oh, wow.
I think that was the typhoon season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
I
say-
can't really remember what.
They say the rainy season in tropical areas is
Yeah.
actually the most beautiful, though. Is that the same in the Philippines? 'Cause
How is that beautiful? It like destroy. There's like landslides, like mud.
Oh, okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well-
It does destroy a lot of places.
Because I went to Costa Rica, and they say the rainy season is the most beautiful there because it's green and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, but not in
Yeah.
the Philippines.
Not where I came from.
No.
Shit would get destroyed.
Oh, wow.
A lot of things will get destroyed.
So
and there's
it'd be
like a lot of heavy rain because there is a lot of poor people out there,
Yeah.
right? Like I've seen houses that shouldn't even be in a living condition.
Right.
You know, there's houses where there's no roofs. Like, how are there people living there? I
Yeah.
don't understand. You know, stuff like that. You know, imagine when it rains.
Yeah, so rain could be like your house is
there's
gone.
a lot of destruction. Yeah, it happens when typhoon season comes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, heavy rain.
I don't know if you watched that show, 90 Day Fiance. Are you familiar
Nuh-uh.
with that show? So
I'm familiar, but I don't.
you know
care
that
to
guy
watch.
with no neck, right?
Yeah.
Big Al or whatever, or Big Ed. I'm sorry, I think his name is Big Ed. Anyways,
Yeah.
he met this Filipino girl, and he went to her town, her poor village, right? And literally, it was the houses you're talking about, like the wiring, you could
Yeah.
see it. And he took a bath, but you know their shower is not like a shower; it's like a hose and scrub yourself and the father said, "I want to shower with you." He didn't get it at first, but it was just like they had shorts on, right?
yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a traditional Filipino thing.
It's not a traditional thing, but like, I mean, people have done that. Like
Yeah.
friends or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna shower and have the
Yeah.
clothes on or whatever. And I've showered outside, but with my clothes on.
Okay.
Just
Yeah. So and then I guess I can kind of understand like what you're talking about, like the homes. Some of the homes are not like the best, and some
Yeah,
are.
it's not a.
So was your home kind of like a good home, or
It
was
was it was a good home.
Okay.
We definitely have roofs under our head. Yeah, it was like more of a apartment like compound.
okay?
Like all the houses are like right next to each other,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But it's a apartment compound.
Okay.
Our living condition was pretty decent. You know, it's safe enough and stuff. So yeah.
So is there like in the Philippines? Because I know it's a poor country, but is there like a middle class, a wealthy, and a poor, or is it just kind of like
Yeah,
rich and poor?
I would say so. I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
There's the poorest of the poor, yeah, middle class, and the wealthy, like
Okay.
celebrities and politicians and stuff like that, and
So do
business owners.
You feel like you grew up kind of like in a middle class Filipino family?
I want to say kind of like in the middle, but bit under middle class ish. I want to say.
Sorry about that.
I mean, obviously, I was, I grew up there until I was 10 years old, so didn't really had a feel of how the finances are, like,
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
was,
that's
I
true.
mean, for as far as I know, there was always food on the table. My mom made sure of that. So our living condition in the Philippines, I consider as like more of like a under the middle class,
Okay.
where, I mean, my mom consider us being poor, but we're okay.
Yeah.
Like how I see it, we had food on the table. There's water. There's shower and whatnot. We had a roof over our
Yeah.
heads, right? So I mean, like when I was just talking about people with no roofs over our heads, that's obviously I consider that being really poor.
Yeah.
So I want to say just below middle class.
Yeah.
of
And
living
I
condition.
think that's more of an American thing, to be honest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool that, like, when we live in a capitalist, materialistic society, and it's like it's always about what you have and having more, and you know, then people from the Philippines, like you said, you were happy in the rain, and as long
Yeah.
as you had food on the roof,
Yeah.
like there was no concept of like poor, rich, or whatever. You were just happy, and you knew you had enough. You know what I mean? So that was like a good upbringing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you're 10. You realize you're leaving your
Yeah, I'm
country
leaving. Yeah, I'm
to
leaving
go
all my
to
friends.
a brand new country.
Yep.
What was that like as a 10-year-old?
It was scary. It was such a. I felt like I was heartbroken in
Yeah.
a way
Yeah.
because I was leaving. I was saying bye to my friends. Like
Yeah.
I was saying bye to my friends, my neighbors. The people that you see every single day of your life. Because I
Yeah.
grew up in that compound, right?
Yeah.
And then like all the things I used to do is like go walk down the street and buy some chips from this this old people who had a little store, right?
Yeah.
Sorry store. There's a bunch of that. And just like saying bye to that neighborhood and everything that you see, the environment, it was like surreal. It's crazy thinking talking about it right now. It's been like what, 20 years?
Yeah.
It's been 21, 20 years. So it's like, holy shit, and I haven't been able to go back there. And I do want to visit, but my mom always tells me don't go there. I'll probably get kidnapped or whatever. But
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just remember that feeling like it was pure sadness that I'm
Yeah.
leaving. I'm saying bye.
What-
Yeah, and I was also scared, but I was mainly sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your impressions of what did you think the United States was going to be like?
Cold.
Cold?
Like snow,
Snow.
and really cold and a lot of chocolates.
A lot of chocolates. See, guys, like,
Yeah.
we grew up here, and
Yeah.
then this is what people from different countries, they think it's cold and chocolate. This is a young 10-year-old Filipino girl coming to the
Yeah.
United States would think lots of chocolate and very
And it's
cold.
cold as
Right.
Remember that movie Macaulay Culkin
Home Alone?
Home Alone.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies of
Yeah,
all
me
time.
too. That's an awesome
But
movie.
yeah, it was cold. Literally when I got here, the airport that we flew in is San Francisco Airport. I remember in year 2000, and it was really cold.
Yeah.
Like the air was so different. It was like icy.
Yeah.
I'm breathing ice. Yeah.
Well,
That's how I
you did
remember.
come to a colder part of the United States too. I mean, San Francisco
Yeah.
is not cold like Chicago or something.
Right.
But coming from the Philippines, a tropical island, beautiful paradise, to
Yeah.
come to San Francisco, I guess, it would be pretty cold.
Yeah.
Was that your first time ever on an airplane?
Yes.
Oh wow, what was that like?
It was it like a 12-hour ride? I think it was direct flight, 12-hour. It was hard to sleep. Obviously I couldn't move any.
Yeah.
As a little girl, like I just want to move. I want to play, right?
Yeah.
Like very active, and I couldn't sleep for a long time. I did take a nap. I remember when we were landing, and my ears was bugging me so hard, like
Stuffed
it
up.
hurt so bad.
Oh wow.
It hurt so bad. Like
So
oh my.
that
it
was,
like the first
21
time.
years ago, and you
Yeah.
could still remember.
Yeah, it hurt. Yeah.
That's crazy, right? That must have been like a very unique experience.
Very unique experience, yeah.
And so now, what made your family come to San Francisco of all places?
So my dad he's a military veteran, right? So basically, my aunt, his sister, used to be married. Uncle Don, he passed away now. He used to be married to he used to be in the military as well. So I guess my aunt had a lot of help from her husband. So that's why we were petitioned by her, by my aunt.
So your
and
aunt was already here
and
in
my
the United
uncle.
States.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad was already here too, and apparently we're supposed to surprise my dad. I guess.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I gotta ask my dad now if he knew
Yeah.
we were coming.
So you didn't know
Because he was surprised. He
Oh,
was
wow.
very surprised, and
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a surprise for him. So it wasn't my mom. I mean, well, obviously it's not my decision, but it wasn't my mom's decision. It was more of like my aunt.
Okay. So your aunt, is that your dad's sister?
Sister, yeah.
Oh,
younger
okay,
sister.
got it. So your dad's sister planned it all.
You know what? I have to ask her now.
Yeah.
I have
See?
to talk to her.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I gotta
Yeah.
go back.
Yeah.
Gotta go back to history. Yeah.
Now you have something to go
Because
back.
I really have no idea. Now
Yeah.
that you ask, like, holy shit, why did we come here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So how long was your dad here before you guys came?
He's been here since I was born.
Oh wow. 10 years?
89. He's been here since 89.
Oh wow.
I think he came to America back in the 80s because most of his siblings are already here. Whatever.
Okay.
He joined the military, right?
He joined the United States
Navy. Yeah, he
Oh,
joined
okay.
the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, he was here. I think I was only able to see him maybe once when I was in the Philippines.
Wow.
Back in the early 90s. Yeah.
So why did your dad come first? Was it just the military?
Military, and obviously to provide for his
Okay.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. You know, like you hear that even to this day all the time. Like, you know, one parent leaves and basically goes to a different country just to give the family a better life.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
it's pretty crazy. But I guess it worked. Here
Yeah.
you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? It's funny. I love that we're talking about this now because it makes me appreciate so much why I'm here.
Yeah.
I am so lucky to be here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy because like, I feel like I definitely did take that for granted, the opportunity of being here, because there's a lot of people in the Philippines that waits more than 5 years just to come to America and live a better life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now, like, knowing that and having that awareness makes me want to just do more and do bigger things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, I'm not an immigrant, but my father was an immigrant,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I've learned from the immigrants that I know is that, you know, they just appreciate any opportunity more. They appreciate being here. And
Yeah.
like me, I was born here. So sometimes when you're
Yeah.
born here, you kind of take things for granted, you know, the fact that, you know, you can do whatever you want,
Right.
you know, you can go to school, you can pretty, I mean, I know that, you know, pretty much this country, the United States, is for anybody who's wants to work for it, they can pretty much do anything they want, right?
for sure.
I know we got some weird stuff going on right now with
Yeah.
our country, but this is not a political podcast, so we're not going to talk about that, but yeah, it's an amazing story. I mean, your father left his family for 10 years and then was actually surprised by
Yeah.
his sister,
Yeah.
you know, bringing over
Yeah.
his family. So was it just you and your mom when you guys came
My
here?
brother.
And your brother?
Yeah.
Is he older or younger?
Older, 3
Okay.
years older.
3 years older.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what does your brother do now?
He's in the Philippines, finding his way, finding his purpose. Let's just put it that way.
That's right. I remember you told me
Let's
that.
just put it that
That'll be for another episode. Right?
Yeah, he's finding his
Yeah.
way. He's I love him and I miss him every single day, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I obviously jump on this podcast too, it's like not only the opportunities, but you know, just using this platform because I've always felt like I have a voice, I have something to share. So you know.
But you know what? Through this journey, I think we're both going to discover a lot about ourselves
Yeah.
and a lot. And then through our discoveries and through our experiences, we want to share this with all you people out there that maybe you're sitting there in your cubicle or you're sitting there and, you know, in quarantine right now, or maybe you just are not happy or maybe you feel like you have something bigger to do in this world, or maybe you're an immigrant and you're not, you know, living the American dream. This podcast is going to be here for you to get inspired to be able to either figure it out or if you know what it is and you're scared, just go do it, because that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so let's get back to that. Like you're the lucky one, right? Out of your siblings, you're here. You know, you've been here for 21 years. You said now.
I wouldn't say 20 years because when I come here, I was 10. But the same month I was turning 11.
Okay.
So I want to say
So 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
A good
Two
20
decades.
years.
Yep.
2/3 of your life, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And here we are. We're taking the entrepreneurial journey. You know what I mean? So you're here in the United States. Let's fast forward to now. Let's talk about. You were just talking about it. Like, why did you decide? So just a background, real quick. So I currently have been in my career for about 10 years, right? Almost 10 years, and it's an amazing business, an amazing company. I learned a lot in the last 9 years. Man, I hope I don't sound nasally, but anyways, whatever. Just get it done, right? Action, right? So anyways, I learned a lot in the last 9 years from this company, and it's a great opportunity. It's a 7-figure opportunity, and most people would think it'd be kind of crazy or stupid to leave after 10 years of being there.
Right.
But what I realized one day was that, I just wasn't reaching the levels I should be reaching. And I've seen so many people in our business absolutely achieving amazing things, like becoming multimillionaires, like becoming financially free, building huge organizations. And I just kept saying like, well, why am I not getting to where I want to be? Right. And I know it takes time to be successful, but, I just always felt like I never really fit in, like growing up, I was always like art, drawing, I would get in trouble, because my teachers would tell my mom to, my teachers, I went to a Christian private school, they would tell my mom to punish me for drawing, because that's all I do is draw, right? So anyways, I was always been creative. I did art all the way up until college. But I graduated from high school in 1995. Yeah, 1995, 25 years ago. I'm 42 years old. Those of you guys watching the video podcast will see I know I look very young, right? But I'm 42. So when I graduated in 1995, graphic design was going to be my major because I was an artist. That's what I had, my talent, my God-given abilities. But in 95, it was like brand new, right? Nobody understood. Nobody knew if it was going to be a good career, right? So I was on an airplane and I met this very successful lady, and she kind of like talked to me. She saw something I was drawing, right? And she was like, it's funny. That's a good story. I'll tell it, right? She's like, hey, so we're going to Mexico, right? And I'm on the plane and I'm drawing this football player because I love sports, right? And she's like, hey, that's really good. She's like, what's your name? Let me see that. Like, she grabs the art out of my hands. She's like, this is really good. What's your name? I'm like, Isaac. She's like, how old are you? I'm like, 18. She's like, are you going to college? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what's your major? And I was like, graphic design. And the whole time I was like, why is she asking me these questions, right? And then she's like, well, do you like to sit in front of a computer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't really like technology or computers. It was brand new. I mean, I was fascinated by it, but I wasn't like passionate about it, right? I was like, no. And she's like, well, do you like to have a project done within a certain amount of time? If you don't get it done, you don't get paid. I was like, no. She's like, well, then don't do graphic design. She's like, I'm Dana Monosoft. I own Monosoft Corporation. We print all, like the ATM cards, like Wells Fargo with the Stagecoach. Yeah. Her company was the one that printed all those cards. So she worked with graphic designers on a daily basis. She's like, don't do graphic design. She's like, these are the top 5 majors. Anyways, long story short, she was a successful businesswoman. She was on her way to Pepperdine to go teach the students because they had a program at Pepperdine where they would bring somebody that was actually doing whatever industry they're teaching, like actually was successful in it, to come and teach the kids. And she's like, these are the top 5 majors. I want you to choose one. And it was like business, like medical field, law, whatever. So out of all those, I said business is probably the one that was better for me. Right. So I completely switched my major from art and graphics to business. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, I just realized that, I didn't have the desire or the drive to do what I needed to do to really make it. And my whole life, if someone would ask me, hey, Isaac, what's your biggest fear? Besides spiders and sharks, and big dogs, because of something that happened when I was young, I would say being average, right? So yeah, so I found out that I was becoming like pretty pretty average in my life and my career. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had achieved like a senior broker position, and I had qualified for a certain company trip that was a top 1%. So I did achieve certain levels, but I just felt like I was not. I was just kind of just be average. You know what I mean? And that was not a good feeling. That wasn't settling well. So then quarantine happens and we're stuck at home, and one of the when the quarantine first happened, I had prayed and I had said, hey God, like, by the way, it's not a religious podcast either. We respect all religions, but whatever. I prayed and I said, God, give me something profound, because I started to become one of the speakers of our company. Nice. Because I that's one thing I do appreciate about this last company, is that I learned a skill that I never had, right? And that is like speaking, and I used to be afraid. I used to be scared to freak. I used to be scared. I'm not scared to freak, by the way, but I used to be scared to speak in front of people, because that's actually the fear of 98% of people. Some people would rather die than actually go speak in front of a crowd. Right. But what I realized is that I actually had a talent for it, and because I was forced out of my comfort zone, and so I was doing a national Zoom for our company, and I had prayed before, and I said, God, give me something profound to tell people. Give me something, why is this happening? Like, and what had come to me was God said, I'm going to put life on pause so that everyone can stop and just kind of reevaluate their life and their faith and their family and their finance, like everything in their fitness. Just reevaluate your entire life, right? And it's going to be take this moment to be able to really dig deep and delve and see if you're doing the right thing. Right. Like if you're doing the right thing with your faith, if you're doing the right thing with your family. I've talked to so many people that said, wow, I just realized I never really spent time with my family. Like, this allowed me to get back and in touch with my family, spend more time with my family, your finances, whether what you're doing as a career, if that's what you're supposed to be doing, or maybe you should change, right? And so what it came to me was, you have to stop. I'm going to give you time to stop, to reevaluate. And if you're doing the right thing, then keep going and go harder, right? But if you're not doing the right thing, it's time to make a change, right? Because when I put life back on play, you're either gonna make the changes or you're gonna stay the same, right? And so, I don't know why, but I had started watching a lot of YouTube videos, and then all of a sudden, Joe Rogan. By the way, I want to make a vlog or a video about this, but Joe Rogan, who's like one of the number one podcasts in the world, the JRE Experience. Shout out to Joe Rogan. Yeah,
that's JOE. I'm JHO.
Yeah, there you go. This is the Joe Rogan, Joe podcast, right? Anyways, so Joe Rogan just signed a deal with Spotify for $100 million, and I was like, "What? Like, wait a minute, huh? Like $100 million?" So all of a sudden, I realized, man, if you're a successful creator, you're worth at least $100 million. Like the best is worth $100 million now. And that reminded me of like when the first pro athlete signed $1 million deal. So all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that there's an industry where you can be creative. I can be aligned with my natural gifts. It's fun. I can surround myself with people like me, creative, artistic, people that love to travel and do all that kind of stuff. You can actually earn a living out of that. And I was like, man, so for me, that's where this whole podcast and, it's going to eventually we're going to have a YouTube channel. So look out for that, right? A video podcast, YouTube channel, and a podcast. And I said, you know what? I can take all the stuff I learned the last 10 years and realign with my creative self, my naturally created self. And if I just really do what I learned it takes to be successful, which is the go all in, be committed, no matter what, make it to all adversity, work hard, be, just bust it, then I could, eventually have a career that I love, where I live fulfilled, and the ultimate goal is to, sign a deal 10 times bigger than Joe Rogan with a major creator. So that's kind of where this all came about, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where this podcast came about. We're here, and Joe and I we're following our bliss. We're following our natural gifts. We're aligning with our creative side. And it's not going to be perfect in the beginning, but done is better than perfect. You know what I mean? And we clicked a lot. So let's go back to that. I actually am very grateful for the company, because that's where you and I met, right? And if it weren't for me working there, and and some of my business associates, you and I would have never gotten to meet, right? So, I used to have an office in Pleasanton, California, and the people that have brought Joe actually worked for our company for a little while. They brought you into the office, and that's where we kind of got to know each other, and we just started talking, and just kind of clicked. I don't know if I know everybody out there has met somebody in their life that, just things just go, they flow. Literally, I think this is like the 5th time we've ever seen each other.
I think so. Within 3 years.
Yeah,
within 3 years, guys.
Within 3 years, this is the 5th time we've ever actually seen each other.
Yeah.
And we're already planning a podcast
big
and a
things.
business and a future and big things together, right?
Yep.
So that's a lesson to you guys. What do you say all the time? It doesn't take time. It takes...
Yeah, so it doesn't take time. It just takes alignment.
Yeah.
That's from Abraham Hicks.
Abraham Hicks, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a female.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you more about her. But anyway, this is another story.
Yes.
I shout out to her. I love her.
Yeah. So it doesn't take... Yeah, there you go. It doesn't take time. It takes alignment, because we've only actually have been in each other's presence for 5 times in the last 3 years. And here we are with the podcast set up, recording our first podcast, taking action, going out there. And by the way, that should inspire you guys out there. Hey, if you want to do something, just figure it out, do it. By the way, YouTube is an amazing resource. You can... Hey, there's no excuse for I don't know. Nobody should ever say I don't know in this world anymore, because knowledge is everywhere, right? Knowledge is at your fingertips, right? So if anybody says I don't know, they're just not putting the effort.
They're just lazy.
They're just lazy, right? Or uninspired. So knowing is not the issue. Now it's about taking action, right? Because you can go to Google, you can go to YouTube, you can read books, and here we go. Just a few months of me basically living on YouTube, and watching. Because another thing I learned in my life is that if you want to be the best, you have to study the best, right? Always study success, because success leaves clues, right? And failure also leaves clues, right? So I started just, the algorithm kicked Mr. Beast into my path. And by the way, he's awesome. I hope one day Mr. Beast and us can collab on something, right? You're awesome, man. You're doing big things. So Mr. Beast right now is the fastest growing YouTube channel. PewDiePie, 100 million subscribers. Jake Paul, right? Logan Paul, actually, Impulsive Podcast, and Joe Rogan, right? So I've been studying these people, just kind of learning, watching, and through all that knowledge, basically just watching a bunch of YouTube videos, taking notes, talking with Joe, throwing some ideas on a piece of paper. Here we are, right? And we're recording our first podcast, and we're starting to build a team. And that's another thing I learned in my life, is that you don't really people don't really care where you're at. They care where you're going, right? A lot of times people will be like, oh, well, I don't want to start something because I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have any followers, I don't have any subscribers. I think we have like 1 follower on Instagram. Oh, I think we have like 10 followers on Instagram. We haven't even really released Instagram yet. We have absolutely 0 subscribers because we haven't even created the YouTube channel yet. But guess what? We have a Zoom H5. We have a couple microphones. We have a camera. We have some lighting.
Canon. Shout out to Canon.
There you go. Canon. Boom. Hopefully they'll sponsor
and Sigma.
us.
Sigma lens right there.
We got some Shure microphones, and here we are, right? So yeah, that should be an inspiration to all you guys out there that it just takes action, man. Just do it, right? Like seriously, life's too short, and you have to do what moves you, right? Because you'll end up in a place where you're miserable, and it'll affect the rest of your life. It'll affect your family. It'll affect everything else. And in this day and age, in 2020, with the internet and technology, man, you can make money almost doing everything in this world. But here we are. We're both creative people, and we're following our bliss. And I feel like podcasting is going to be one of my strengths because I like to converse with people. I like to listen. But let's talk about photography because that's your thing, right?
Yeah.
Joe's an amazing photographer. She has a lot of things she wants to do with photography. So let's talk about the photography. So how did you get into photography? When did you get into it? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so from what I can remember, when my nephew was born back in 2009, I had an iPhone, so I started taking photos of him every single time I see him. I just don't want to miss a thing, like Aerosmith.
There you go, right?
I don't want to miss a thing. Like I want to capture every moment. It was like obsessive in a way, you know what I'm saying? So, and after even with my nephew, I started for some reason my vision just opened up in a different way. I'm like, oh my god, that looks kind of cool. I want to capture it. Boom.
Yeah.
Started taking photos of random things anywhere I go.
By the way, I'm exactly like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember living in Hayward with my girlfriend at that time, back in Hayward, 2011. I remember walking around the streets by Hayward Bart. I remember seeing this graffiti. I couldn't stop staring at it, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a photo. It's like I followed my bliss, basically, right? So it just went on and on and on. So I basically started as an iPhone photographer.
Right. And by the way, with the new iPhone 11, that thing is like
it's a beast.
Legit.
Yeah.
So the iPhone was what sparked it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was like basically my first tool. It was back in 2010. So I started taking photos with iPhone, and I just started getting creative, really getting the mood for it. Like anything I see, just because of the iPhone too.
Yeah.
It helps when you have a tool right in front of you that you have every single day. Shout out to Apple, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that phone.
That's very true. They made it very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I started, photo editing with my phone, and then time goes by. I think I want to say 3 years later, 2013, I had another girlfriend, and she bought me a camera.
Oh, wow.
She actually bought me a camera for my birthday.
Wow.
And
it's a nice
girlfriend. She knows who she is.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to...
She's one of my good friends.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm not going to say her name.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's one of my good friends.
Okay.
She's like family. So, yeah, she got me a Canon Rebel SL1.
Wow.
I remember, yeah. And it obviously started taking more photos with that. And, a lot of things happened throughout my life where I was like, people believed in me before I believed in myself when it comes to photography.
That's amazing.
That's a huge thing, right? It was like I had a lot of stories in my head, like how I shouldn't do this. I should be doing this. I should be doing that because logically that's what I should be doing, right? Not following my heart, not following my bliss, right? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, I want to say it was an on and off relationship with my camera and photography. And, fast forward later, I think after my last breakup with it was a really toxic relationship. And so I realized
I know all about those.
Dude,
those are the most fun though, for some reason.
You're silly. Okay, that's another story.
Really.
It made me realize, go back to the things I love doing.
Right.
Like, I have to focus on me no matter what I love doing and how I can progress, right? So I basically, I started taking classes back in 2016, I want to say. And then I jumped into doing professional photography 2017.
Okay.
So I've been
3 years ago.
Yeah. So I've been a freelance photographer for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this whole lockdown quarantine happened. I got some time off and kind of sat with myself, and I'm like, what do I really want to do? I know I already have all these plans lined up, right? But I've always wanted to travel and explore and be a tourist in my own state.
Right.
But I was always working.
Right.
I was always seeing people, whatever, not, like people you have to go see and meet and whatnot, always working. And I've always just want to explore and go to different places because I'm naturally curious. Like how I was when I was a little girl. I want to go this place. What's over there?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's dangerous. Let's go.
Ah, so you're one of those, right?
I'm one of those.
We're like, oh shoot, it's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, let's go see what's up. At the end of the day, we're all just human beings. It's not like I feel like even if you go to a lot of dangerous places in the world, you can still connect with people.
Right.
Because we're all human beings living in planet Earth, just living in a different world, like different worlds in our minds or whatever. But so yeah, I've been a freelance photographer for the last 3 years, and basically when this whole lockdown quarantine happened, I really had to like I sat with myself, I meditated, and realized like, wow, I really want to just explore and take photos and and obviously go to different countries, and I want to be able to use my photography as a voice for them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was watching this the series on Netflix called Tales by Light.
Okay.
So basically these photographers go to different countries, and one of them are Orlando Bloom, UNICEF ambassador. So he's not
Okay.
He's not the photographer, but he's out there, and there's other photographers. So it's basically showing that there's parts of like India, like these little kids wake up every morning and pick up trash on the train tracks.
Right.
And that's really dangerous. They look like my nephew's age, right?
Wow.
And like basically just knowing that this type of stuff happens in different parts of the world makes me feel like I have a bigger purpose when it comes to photography. So I want to be able to like use photography to bring them some kind of exposure, so other people can help and learn about what they're doing.
Yeah, like tell a story.
Yeah, tell a story.
Or tell their story.
Yeah,
through photography.
and I'm very resourceful, and I know that once I'm able to go to different countries, and I could figure out ways to like have other people help them out.
Yeah.
Not using photography in other ways. So
Yeah. Well, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
yeah,
So,
it made me cry. One of those episodes on Tales by Light, it really made me cry. It was like, holy shit, like this is happening in different parts of the world, and we had no idea.
yeah.
I had no idea. So if it wasn't for photography and videos, we would never know what's happening
That's
in
true.
different parts of the world.
iPhones. Going back
Unless
to
you
iPhones.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you go
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
So I realized how much I just want to follow my bliss.
Yeah.
And and I think it was Joseph Campbell who said, "Follow your bliss." Simple as that.
Yeah.
So
You told me something about that. There's the 3 wins. Can you explain that?
by Kyle Cease. So basically, what you're doing with your life, right? You gotta think about like, is it fulfilling you? Is it giving you self-fulfillment, right? The second thing is like, is it being at service for other people? Is it fulfilling other people?
Right.
So the third win should be about like, is it making the world a better place? So that's 3 wins right there.
So can you repeat the 3 wins again?
So the first one is it fulfilling you? What you're doing?
Fulfilling yourself,
Self-fulfillment.
your purpose, your bliss.
Your purpose,
Okay.
yeah. The second would be, is it fulfilling other people?
So helping others.
Helping others.
Right.
And the third win would be, is it making the world a better place?
Make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So there you guys heard it, right?
3
Follow your bliss, help others, and make the world a better place.
Shout out to Kyle Cease,
There you go.
The Illusion of Money. That was a good book. So
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And so your goal, your ultimate goal through photography is not only to travel,
Yeah.
but to share the story of people who don't have a voice through your pictures. Is that?
absolutely. Not just that. I mean, that's also like, that's another thing I want to do with photography. The other thing is pretty much expressing myself through art.
Okay.
And I have a lot of ideas in my head, like so many ideas. So
Yeah. Can you give us an example of like what's a Joe? How do you express yourself through a photography?
through photography, I'm gonna start doing a lot more self portraits.
Okay.
Self photography of how I would be feeling, if it, like the type of mood, like if I'm like going through like a very dark time, how would I want to put that out as a photo?
Okay.
Like obviously it's gonna be really moody, it's gonna be
Yeah.
kind of darkish.
Yeah.
So just a lot of self expression, and not just with me, but also with other people. You know
Right.
what I mean? And basically putting our emotions in photographs.
Yeah.
And obviously other people can resonate with that, relate with that. So that builds more connection too with other people.
So you're gonna actually put yourself in front of the camera
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know most people behind the camera, they like to be behind. But
Yep.
guess what? She's gonna be in front of the camera from now on, and we're gonna do some amazing things. So talking about the photography, I know you had shared some pictures of some bartenders. I think it was in Guatemala.
Guatemala,
Yeah,
Antigua.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that place. Shout out.
It's Guatemala.
Guatemala.
If you guys want us to go, let us know.
We are going actually.
Yeah,
So.
but if we get some sponsors, that'd be a little better.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, talk a little bit about that. Like, talk a little bit about, or I don't know if you want to share that. But
Yeah.
The Guatemala experience, but just in other words, the bartender experience, because part of this podcast, people out there, listeners, I don't know how you say it, but we could edit that. Audience, beautiful people out there. Bliss followers or people that are about to break the chains and follow your bliss. Part of what we want to do is we want to travel. Like we want to see the world. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be shown through our voices, through her camera, and through YouTube videos, right? But we want to go and we want to see the world because, I worked in the retirement industry. That's my previous career. Actually, I'm still going to be involved in the business in some sort, right? But part of my job was meeting people that were planning retirement, right? And so I would ask every single person I sat down with, I would ask them, what are your dreams and goals in retirement? And I'd probably say 99.9% of people said, I want to travel. 99.9. It doesn't matter what background, where they came from, whether they were born in the U.S. or not. The number one answer was travel. And then I thought, well, if that's what everybody wants to do when they're 65 or 70 and most of their life is already gone, why don't I figure out a way to do that and that be my life every single day?
Yeah.
Right? They say, and if you're an employee, don't take this the wrong way, but they say most employees or people who have jobs they don't like, they love the weekend. It's like happy hump day because guess what? You're halfway through the week.
Yeah.
TGIF because the weekend's over. And, because then you can go party on Saturday and then Sunday fun day and then guess what? You're back you're back to it on Monday, right? So they say the goal in life is not to have a job you want to escape from. It's to have a life that is like a constant vacation. Right? So it doesn't matter what day it is, right? It's almost like every day is a blur because it's the same. And that's our vision. That's our goal. We want to wake up every day and say, what are we going to create today? Who are we going to talk to today? How are we going to help and inspire people today? What parts of the world are we going to see? And through our travels and through our experiences, we're going to share that with you guys and give you guys all the tips and tools and how-tos and our experiences, the good and the bad, and through her beautiful photography, through our voices, through the channel, through our creative minds, we're going to share that with you guys. So, but yeah, getting back to that is like, if 99.9% of people say that their goal when they're done working 40, 50 years of their life is to travel, why not make that your everyday life, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not take the leap, take the jump, and figure it out? You know what I mean? And if you do have a job, don't get me wrong. If you have a family and kids, I'm not telling you to just quit your job and be like, hey, family, we're gonna go make this happen. But you can have it all if you schedule it in, right? It's about doing your work, and then when you get home from work, spend time with your family, and then spend a couple hours, 4 or 5 hours, just busting it, trying to create something, create something that'll eventually free you from that if that's what you want to do. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's part of our that's our plan and our goal. So getting back to photography, do you see yourself like ever doing anything other than photography, as far as in the creative realm, or is it going to be mainly photography?
Well, I've I want to say music is my first love,
Music. All right.
but
Cool.
not. I'm not gonna sing. I'm not. I mean, I've written stuff before. Share some with friends.
Really? Like what kind of music?
I all kinds of music, but like mainly I want to create instrumental
Instrumental.
beats.
Okay.
Yeah,
So like hip hop
it could be anything. It doesn't
and
matter.
electronic.
It could be a
Yeah.
mix of like some EDM and hip hop and some R&B or electronic. Doesn't matter. I just like sounds. I like
Okay.
sounds in general.
Okay.
I think I wanna start messing with that.
Ah, so
Just
there you
because.
go. So follow your Bliss sound,
Yeah,
right?
I
Bliss
love
sound.
music.
You know what's
Throughout
funny
the
about
years.
music is my dad was actually a singer-songwriter. So music is
Mm.
in my blood, except I got no singing talent whatsoever. So I mean that would have actually been my first choice. Just like
Nice,
ironically,
nice.
if I could sing, I would be a singer. Like
Yeah.
I'd be like Luis Miguel. He's like this very popular Latin singer, or like a Frank Sinatra or whatever. But God said no. That's not my plan, right? I do have like natural talent for piano and certain instruments, right? But yeah, music has always been, it's a passion of mine. I love music. There's something that they say about music that it just kind of, it affects a different part of the brain, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Like they've had people who have actually lost their memory, but they could play a song that's important to them. It'll help bring back their memory. It'll take them to a place, which is pretty crazy, right? Another thing is I watch PewDiePie sometimes. Shout out to PewDiePie, right? But he'll make like a funny sound, or like, and then he'll like turn it into a song because he also kind of creates music too. So, well, that's cool.
Well,
So,
actually, another thing I want to add: filmmaking, like a short
filmmaking.
story, like a short. I've been around people who created film. Basically, like a what do you call that? A short film.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy how like a 3-minute film basically can be done in 24 hours.
Wow.
24 hours, then obviously you gotta do the editing and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I think just creating like a powerful story, but even though if it's like a 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute film, I'm not gonna be the one obviously like behind the camera, but I wanna be directing it in some way. I wanna be able to sit with a few other people and create like a very impactful story and be one of the basically writers or creators, whatever it's called. I'm very inspired. I feel like we're in the right place, the right time right now. Like I said, like I don't want to be 40 or 50 or 60
Hey,
or
I'm 40. What are you talking about?
all right, I don't want to be 50,
Just
60,
kidding.
70.
I look 26 and feel 26. It's all good.
And be like, "Oh my god, I should have done this."
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't regret is one of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
It's probably my biggest fear actually. So
They say when you're old and about to pass away, they say you're not ever gonna regret the things you did. You're gonna regret the things you didn't.
you didn't do.
Right? And by the way, you mentioned something earlier. You had like a on-off relationship with your camera.
Yep.
And let's talk about that real quick because I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
The reason why most of us struggle with following our passions is because we're kind of taught by parents or people around us that we're supposed to do something because it's what worked for them, or it was like their thing, or it's what they think is best for us. But really, the only people that know what's best for you is you, right?
Yeah.
I have a story, about where when I was young, I was able to get an internship in the NFL. I was 18 years old and I worked for the Oakland Raiders, and it was an amazing achievement. I wrote the team a letter, and that's how I got in, right? I guess we could talk about that. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So, all our lives, I don't know if your parents were like that, but my parents were like, go to school, get a job,
Same.
and I don't know if you were pigeonholed into like nurse or post office, right?
Nurse, medical field.
Yeah, for me it was just get a degree and go work in tech somewhere, because both my parents worked in the Silicon Valley, and they did well. I mean, for them, for the baby boomers, it worked, right? But for my generation and maybe yours, I don't think it works, right?
No.
But my dad was passionate about music, and he gave up music very young, and he never pursued his bliss. And to this day, he picks up a guitar and he lights up, right? And I'm not faulting him for that. He did what he felt was best, and he was a great father, and he raised a great family. But we're always taught, like, you have to do this, you have to do this, right? But nobody ever asks us, like, what do we really want to do, right? So somewhere along the lines, I was like 18 years old. I always loved sports, right? Growing up, all my friends were good athletes. I wasn't, but I like sports, right? So I grew up in the baseball generation. I grew up in the 90s. It was all about baseball, and then 95 strike came, and baseball kind of stopped, and then the Oakland Raiders had moved up to Oakland, back from LA to Oakland, and I went to my first NFL game ever, right? And it was an electric experience. Like, the Coliseum was sold out. Like, Kaufman ran the kickoff back. The first kickoff, ran it back for 95 yards, touchdown. The crowd was electric. Like, we couldn't even hear each other. Like, this is how close we'd be. I'd be screaming, you couldn't even hear me. That's how loud it was, right? And the energy, and it lit something up in me, and I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what, but this is what I want to do with my life. Like, something, like, it was like I found my passion. Like, it was the NFL, like football, right? So I tried to play, but I hurt my back in a car accident, and I was no good. I kind of sucked. So my Rudy attempt ended before it even started. I don't know if you saw the movie Rudy, but it's like a guy that tries to play. Anyways, the listeners out there will understand that one. But so my Rudy attempt ended before it even started. So I figured, what's the next best thing but to work in sports, right? But I had no idea how I was going to do it, right? But I just remember we got AOL, right? So I don't know if you remember.
I've used AOL,
So,
AIM.
Yeah, AIM. So back, AOL dominated everything. So I would be on chat rooms, and I'd be on ESPN.com, and you know what? The Raiders just had like a horrible season. It was 2 years later. It was 1997. They went 4-12, and I was like, you know what? I just want to be heard. I'm going to write them a letter. So like, I wrote a 3-page letter, and I sent it to Al Davis, to Bruce Allen, to John Gruden, because he was the coach at the time, and he's the coach again now. And I said, I just want to be heard. And I was like ripping the team, and I was like, we need this and we need that, and there's no leadership. And I was like, I don't care. I expected like a sticker from the secretary, like, thank you for being a fan, right? Well, I get an email from the general manager, like Bruce Allen himself. He said, thank you for your love and passion in the Oakland Raiders. Our personnel staff is reviewing some of your suggestions. We feel that 11 draft picks and some free agents will help us improve our team. And I was like, what? I was like, huh? I was like, I'm 18 years old. I get my information from ESPN.com, and the general manager responded to me. But then I was like, ooh, light bulb. I was like, I have his email.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I would come home from college, and I would write 6, 7, 8 emails a day. We should sign this guy. We should do that. And to my shock, he would respond. It would be like one-liners, like, no, yes, we can't do that. I remember I said we should trade for Eric Allen because we need a defense, right? I said the Saints want to trade him, or I don't know if I think it was on the Saints or the Eagles. I think the Saints. They only want a 4th-round draft pick or a 3rd-round pick. And then he's like, we got somebody today. But he couldn't tell me because it didn't come out on ESPN until 3 days later, because it was slow back then. And then I read in the newspaper, Raiders trade for Eric Allen, right? So anyways, I'm not saying they were listening to me, but we were on the same page.
Yeah.
So literally, after like 4 months of me harassing him, basically, right? He calls my house. Like, I'm sitting there, and we're coming in from Costco. I still remember the day. We're coming in from Costco. My sister answers the phone. She's like, Isaac, there's some old guy on the phone for you. He was my age, by the way, right? Showing, he was 42 at the time, right? She's like, Isaac, there's some old guy on the phone for you. I'm like, huh? I'm like, hello? He's like, Isaac? I'm like, yeah. He's like, Isaac Estrada? I'm like, yes. He's like, this is Bruce Allen. I'm like, hi. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm helping my parents bring in the groceries, He's like, you know what? I want to know what you're all about. He's like, I want to meet you. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, hell yeah. He's like, can you come down to training camp and interview with me? I was like, well, let me see you. Let me ask my parents, right? But he's like, yeah, come down to training camp. And it was in Napa, and I had never driven that far. I was only like 18 or whatever. Been driving for 2 years. He's like, can you come down to camp? I'll get you passes. We can sit down. And I'm like, sure, boom. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, what? So, anyways, I asked my best friend, and we drive up to Napa, and because they practice in the Napa Valley Marriott, like they rent out the whole hotel, and so my parents had always taught me like dress sharp, right?
Yeah.
It's like 100 degrees outside. I have a suit, right? And I'm walking up to training camp, and everyone's like in shorts, and this guy comes up to me. His name is Paul Kelly. Paul works for the Redskins right now. If you're listening to this, Paul, what's up, man? But so Paul comes up to me, and he's kind of one of those like straightforward guys. Like he's like, "Excuse me." He's like, "I don't mean to be rude, but what the hell are you doing here?" I was like, I have a meeting with Bruce Allen." He's like, looks at me like I'm crazy. He's like, "Well, Bruce Allen rarely ever does, if he ever does, meet anybody. Why would he want to meet you?" And I was like, he called my house, you know? And then he's like, "Hold on. Let me go talk to Mr. Allen." So, you know, the internet was brand new. I was like, oh, man. I was like, somebody played a joke on me. Like, I got catfish before I even knew what the hell catfish was, you know? And so anyways, 5 minutes later, he comes out. "Oh, sorry about that, guys. Here's your passes. Mr. Allen will be out in 5 minutes. You guys can sit there and watch practice." And I was like, yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought, right? So anyways, Bruce Allen comes out. He's my age at the time. Young, 42 years old. He's a general manager of the Raiders. And there's only 32 NFL teams. So there's only 32 jobs in the world. He has one of them, right? He's the son of a Hall of Fame football coach. He's like, "You must be Isaac." He's like, "Loosen up that tie." He's like, "You look kind of hot." He's like, "We're not like that around here." Oh, you know, he said, "Loosen up that tie. We're not like that around here." He's like, "You know what? You look kind of hot. Let's go inside." And he gave us like t-shirts. And so he brought us into the bar in the hotel, and we sit down, and he's like, "All right, Isaac." He starts chewing tobacco, by the way. He's like, "So," he's like, "what is this all about? Like, what do you want?" And I don't know. I was just a crazy young kid. I was like, something clicked. I was like, I had to say something good. I'm like, "I want your job." Like that. And he's like, he looks at me like I'm crazy. He's like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Right? And he's like, "Well, my job just might be available sometime in the future." He's like, "But for now, let's talk about the internship program," right? And he proceeded to tell me it was very difficult. There's thousands of people that apply. They only have 7, but he'd put in a good word for me, right? So he's like, "I have to write this other guy who's Mark Ortega. Mark, if you're out there, hello, how's it going? Hope you're well. I think you're with the Redskins, or maybe I thought I saw you on the Raiders sideline. Anyways, what's up, Mark?" So anyways, he said, "You have to write Mark Ortega. He's the administrative assistant to head coach John Gruden. He's in charge of hiring the interns." He's like, "I can't promise you anything." He's like, "But I'll put in a good word for you." So I was like, all right. So I ended up writing Mark for probably like another 3 months, and I didn't really hear anything, right? And I would just write him, and then finally get the phone call. "Isaac, yes." "Isaac Estrada, yes. This is Mark Ortega, administrative assistant to head coach John Gruden." I was like, "Yes." He's like, "You know what, Isaac?" He's like, "I apologize for not getting back to you, because I literally shuffled through thousands of applications." And all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I didn't get it, you know?" He's like, "You know, and I only have 7 spots to fill." So I was like, all right, he's letting me down nicely, right? And he's like, "But you know what?" He's like, "You've been the most persistent applicant I've ever had, and I've been here for 12 years.
Wow.
He's like, "And I can hear the passion in your voice." He's like, "So I'm going to give you a shot." He's like, "Show up to camp July." So July 17th, 1999.
17.
Yeah, 1999 was my first internship with the Oakland Raiders as an 18-year-old kid as a 19-year-old kid now, who wrote a letter, and that's how I got into the team.
Wow.
So my point to that long-ass story was, the whole time my parents were like, "You're wasting your time. You're chasing an impossible dream. They're never going to hire you. Do your homework." And the minute I got the job, they're like, my son works for the Raiders. So my point to you people out there is, if you're having that struggle, like, you know, between what you really want to do and what your parents or society's telling you to do, trust me, like, go after what you want to do. You know what I mean? Because that moment, I proved to myself, they say that you can do anything in your life if you really put your mind to it and work hard. I literally proved it to myself at 18. I was like, holy crap. Like, I made this happen. Like, this is nuts. Like, I'm working for the NFL. I'm 18 years old. I'm an intern with the Raiders. I didn't know anybody. Everybody else in there had an uncle, a parent. They knew somebody that got them in, right? I was the only one that earned myself way in there, right? But here's the other thing to the story. So I was kept the longest out of all the interns in 1999. They wanted to bring me on board. I was ready to go into personnel at 18 years old. But I never got to meet Al Davis. Rest in peace, Al Davis. I never got to meet Al. I got to meet him once, but I didn't get to know him, right? And they were going to bring me into personnel, right? And that's like Al's, like, nobody goes into personnel unless I know you, right? Because he didn't trust anybody with his personnel department. So I remember I came in and Mark, I was like, he's like, I'm going to talk to Al tomorrow. He's like, come back tomorrow. We want you. We want to hire you full time, right? We like you. So I came in and it looked like Mark's dog died or something. Like, he was just like pacing back and forth. Like, he couldn't look at me. He's like, I talked to Al. I said, we like you. He's a good kid. We want to keep you. He's like, but he said, I don't know him. I don't trust him. I don't want him around. If you guys like him, bring him back next year. And I remember I was just like, man, I was like devastated. I was like trying to hold it in, Yeah. I was like saying my goodbyes, and then I was leaving, and I was saying bye to everybody in personnel. And Michael Lombardi, he used to work for the Raiders. He was one of the personnel guys. He was really cool. Mike Lombardi, if you're out there, shout out to you. He's like, hey, Isaac, you ready to help us out today? I was like, nah, Al said no. He's like, what? That's freaking bullshit. I hate the way they run things around here. And he like stormed out of and I was like, wow. Like, I felt kind of like, dang, like, I'm just this 18-year-old kid, right? And so anyways, I said my goodbyes. I came back next year. There wasn't an opportunity. The third year, I was supposed to go back. But my parents felt I was still chasing an impossible dream. And I love you, parents. I'm not holding this against you, but I'm just saying, parents, if you're out there, sometimes you need to just let your kids go and follow their dreams. So they said, you have to go to summer school. We're not letting you go to the internship. So I missed an internship. And I remember Mark told me, he goes, if you don't get hired the first year or the second year or the third year, just keep coming back. The worst thing you can do is disappear. Well, I was a kid. I had to listen to my parents. I went to summer school because I wasn't really doing well in school. Well, that year, John Gruden got traded to Tampa Bay, and all my connections within the organization left with him. And I remember they had already promised me a job that year, and I called, and Paul took over, and he said, Mark didn't tell me about that. I had already filled your spot. So my dream ended there, right? And, they gave me a chance to interview for a full-time job in 2003, I think it was, a couple years later. It went to another guy. He's like with the Seattle Seahawks now. And I went on with my life, right? But my whole purpose to that story, number one, to inspire somebody. If you're out there and it seems impossible, like, just do it. I mean, if you believe it more than anybody else, and you work and you will it to happen. And by the way, I was doing affirmations back then. I had no idea what the hell they were, but I always had these older mentors in my life. He told me, write down, I am an intern with the Oakland Raiders, and put it everywhere. I had it in my car. I had it on my bathroom mirror. And now I'm an intern with the Oakland Raiders. I'm an intern with the Oakland Raiders. And so, yeah. So if you're out there and you want to do something, like, do it. Like, I hope, use my story as inspiration, because I did something that was, most people would think is impossible, right? And I willed it to happen. I affirmed it to happen. I worked hard for it to happen. And unfortunately, because of circumstance and because of, my parents believing that it was better for me to go to college, that door closed, right? But, I don't regret it. Everything happens for a reason, right? But my point to that is, a lot of times we struggle, because we're programmed to try to live someone else's dream. You know what I mean? Our parents' dream. Usually we end up living our parents' dream, right? So if you're out there and just ask yourself, am I really living my dream? Like, what is, if you're not living your dreams, you're probably living someone else's dreams. But if you really want to pursue your bliss and follow your passion, go do it. Because I proved it to myself when I was 18, and that's exactly what we're gonna do here with this podcast. Because I know I've done it. I know what it takes. Like, it takes work. It takes effort. I mean, everyone's gonna be against you, but if you believe it in your heart, the whole world could not believe you. But if you believe in yourself, it's gonna happen. So I just wanted to share that with you too, because I think that's kind of why a lot of us struggle, because we're trying to please everybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And life is not about pleasing everybody else. It's about you. Because in the end, who has to live your life?
Yourself.
You do, right? So if you're not living your truth, your purpose, your bliss, you're going to be miserable no matter what, because you're not staying true to yourself, And that's what this podcast is about, right? To be true to yourself, to follow your bliss. And, I'm 42 years old. I'll be 43 this year. But my entire life has always been about me doing what I want, when I want, wherever I want, with whoever I want, because that's what I want. Like, freedom is the ultimate, right? It's the freedom of choice that defines the new rich, right?
I like that.
And so that's what this is all about. So let's talk about one more thing, and then I think we'll wrap it up. But let's talk about traveling, right? Because you and I both love traveling, right? And this is gonna be based on travel a lot. I want this podcast to be a traveling podcast eventually.
Yeah.
I want us to be able to pick up, and we're doing a podcast in the Philippines. We're doing a podcast in Greece,
Guatemala,
right? at the vegan hotel in Greece.
Yeah.
Because we're plant based, but if you're not, it's okay. We love you too. But yeah, so let's talk about traveling. When did you realize that you love to travel?
Oh my God, now I have to think really hard. I feel like okay, going back to when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
when they shipped you from the Philippines to the United States.
No, before that, I just love leaving home.
Okay. Oh, when you start taking off in the, what do they call it? The
jeepney, or
not a genie, a jeepney.
Yeah, I just love leaving my comfort zone.
Okay.
I love leaving home. I love get away from the environment I always see every single day in my life, and going to a different place and meeting different peoples, seeing different things, and having different experiences and learning about different things. I think I loved traveling before I knew it was called traveling. Okay. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you were just curious.
Yeah, just that feeling of like, oh, I'm somewhere else. I'm like far away from home. Obviously, I'm gonna go back home, but I'm in a different environment, different place. I think that feeling came about. I was under 10 years old.
Wow.
I'm gonna put it that way.
What do you think sparked that? Because that's kind of unique. That's very young to be like.
I think what sparked that is just the fact that I don't have to stay in one place.
You just like freedom, I guess, huh? Exploring.
I do. I don't have to stay in one place all the time, every single day. It's gonna be mundane. It's gonna be boring. I think I was born with this energy of naturally just exploring cultures, people, music, food, different places, languages. Doesn't matter. To me, the world is our playground, and I'm here to play. I'm here to make a difference and have fun. Yeah, I think that would be the root.
Okay.
Of me wanting to travel, like more than the same city,
So not being in one place and just the world is your playground.
I don't have to be in one place for a long time.
Yeah, and it's true because a lot of times people stay in their city, their town, and they just never leave, And the world is so big,
Yeah.
Like I grew up here in San Jose, California, Bay Area, Silicon Valley. Shout out to the South Bay, Silicon Valley. Woo, woo. Just kidding. I'm not that crazy about it. But it's a great place. But it wasn't until I started to leave San Jose that I realized that the world is so much bigger. Because you can kind of get caught up in your little group of
Yeah.
friends and your little drama,
Mm-hmm.
and then you feel like the whole world is like, oh my God, like you break up with somebody and you feel like your life is ending
Yeah.
because you just know your little group of 10 people, you know?
Right. Right.
But the minute you get out,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when you leave your country, right?
Mm-hmm.
The minute you get out and you leave your country, you realize, wow, like the world is freaking
Yeah.
huge, right? And then your problems in your little city seem so insignificant, right? Like for me, growing up, my parents never spent money on cars. They never bought like fancy clothes. They bought real estate and we traveled. That was it, right? And at first it was like camping, you know, that's like the Mexican vacation, right? It's camping. Or it was like Mexico, obviously going back to see where my dad is from. But the minute I got to go to Europe for the first time, that's when I got the whole travel bug, right? So my sister was in AP classes in high school, and they had a Europe trip. It was 3 countries, 16 cities in 18 days, right? And they needed chaperones. So I was 2 years graduated from the same high school she went to, so I was eligible to be a chaperone. And my parents didn't want my sister to go by herself. They said, we want you to go as a chaperone. I said, shoot, heck yeah, you know? So we went to England, France, and Italy, right? So we went to London, Paris, Florence, Venice, Siena, and Rome. I don't know. It was like went all over the place, right? It was just amazing. And like, man, we went to see the Crown Jewels in London. We went to Big Ben. We went to so it was like a touristy thing, but we saw all the best things. Went to the Opera House, the Louvre. So the Louvre Museum in France. I took an art history class at Dionn's College, and I was bored out of my mind. I was like, why the hell did we study this stuff? Right? I'm like, why? Like, who needs to learn about Egyptian ruins, right? Okay, this is me, like dumb little 18-year-old American kid that's never been out of San Jose, right?
Yeah.
Well, never been other than Mexico and San Jose, right? And then I go to the Louvre, and I actually see what it was in the book in person. And I was like speechless.
Yeah.
I just remember looking at the Egyptian stuff, and I'm like, I remember I whispered, and I was like, so this is why we study it. But I would have never got that experience had I not traveled.
Yeah.
Had I not actually seen it. Now it makes sense to me. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is, how the heck did they do this? You know, this is thousands of years old. And then we went to like eat pizza in Italy, and I remember I ordered a combination, right? And the guy looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, "Oh no, that is American. We have margarita." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." And then I tried to share, and he's like, "No, one per person, right?" So, anyways, I learned that combination pizza is American. They don't have it in Italy. Maybe they do now, but this was like 1998 or 97. But I ate pizza in Italy, gelato in Venice. Like, I was never the same.
Yeah.
Right? And I just realized, maybe for you coming from a different country, it's almost a different perspective because you already know the world's much bigger, right? But for me, being American and growing up in a small city like San Jose, San Jose is huge now, but when I was growing up, it wasn't that big. It just, I was hooked, right? I was like, this is amazing. I understand people are different. The world is so much bigger. You know, the problems I had back in San Jose seem like nothing anymore, right? So yeah, and then like I said, in my career, everybody says when they want to retire, they want to travel.
Yeah.
But instead of working 50 years, retiring at 70 with most of my life gone, and then going to travel, I want to make that my career. Like, I want to make that. This is the purpose of this podcast, right? This is the purpose of this, is to inspire anybody. If you want to do it, go freaking do it. You know, it's not going to be easy, right? You're going to probably fall on your face. You're going to go through some tough times. But if it's truly what you want to do, you can do it. It's 2020, right? It's not 1995 when I had no idea what the heck graphic design was going to be, right? It's not 1999. It's not even 2000, right? But yeah, that's where it is for me, and like just meeting new people, seeing new experiences, I mean, the buildings in Europe, like they're thousands of years old. Like my sister lives in London. You go to a cafe, the building could be 10,000 years old. Like the medieval people were in that building, the same one.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
It's
Yeah, like the
amazing.
United States is probably like a little less than 300 years old. Like the oldest stuff here is 290,
Yeah,
300
you're
years
right.
old,
I
right?
didn't think about that.
Yeah, there you're talking about thousands of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, about traveling, like, um, is there a particular region? Is it just wherever? Like, um, what is like what is your goals? Like, where do you want to go? Like,
All over the world.
all over the
Every
world.
single country.
Yeah. Okay. And
There's we can even go outside of Earth.
there you
Go up
go.
in space. Pretty
Elon Musk,
much.
SpaceX, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's safe and we come back here in
Yeah.
like within days, not like years later.
I mean, that's gonna be the real deal in the future, right?
Yeah.
Um,
There's
you
no
know,
limits.
soon it's gonna be like just going to space is gonna be like going to freaking Mexico, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just want to talk about one thing real quick because you mentioned you were the first one with an iPod. I was the first person with a MP3 player before iPod existed. So it was called the Archos MP3 player. It was
Wow.
this big. It was like a brick. It was heavy. And I used to download my MP3s from Napster and transfer them
Yeah.
onto there. And it had this brick on my shoulder. And I loved it, man. Like, I was like, and this is before iPod was even created. My idea was it showed the 1970s and it had two girls in like 70s clothes and they were playing a record player and it was staying alive. Then it cuts to the 80s and it has me like in little shorts and a headband and I'm on a little 80s bike and I'm trying to switch the cassette tape in my Walkman and I falls and I try to catch and I fall off the bike and shows a little skinny Asian dude like lifting weights, right? And then it cuts to the 90s and it's like CDs, right? And it's like Color Me Bad, like I Want to Sex You Up. This guy's trying to get fresh with this girl and she like disses him. And then it goes to the 2000s because this was in 2003, right? And it shows the guy playing his MP3 player in the car. And then he pulls up to the house. He puts on his Walkman. Oh man, my nose is stuffed up. Anyways, hopefully we can edit that. He puts on his Walkman. He's listening to music. Then he gets into his house and he plugs it in his stereo and he blasts and he starts dancing. And at the end it goes, "Have you evolved?" So, no, sorry. In the beginning it says, "We here at Gem Shack believe in evolution. The evolution of the way people listen to music." And then at the end it says, "Have you evolved?"
That's amazing.
And literally the whole class got up. It was like standing ovation. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." And that class was a class that pushed us over the top and we ended up graduating.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I remember the girl who was giving me a headache the whole time
Yeah.
at the end. She's like, "You know what, Isaac? I just want to apologize because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have graduated. That was an amazing idea, and like just thank you." And I was like, "Wow," and yeah, so that was the last creative thing I ever did. That was 2003. That was 17 years ago, right? And that just shows the potential of how creative I can be if I'm
Yeah,
in
you're
my
a
lane.
genius.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
a freaking genius.
Wow,
Seriously.
I appreciate that.
I
right?
like when you were telling me that story, I see in my head, I'm like, whoa. I would stand up too and like
Wow.
clap on that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was
I
awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take that genius and surround myself with other artistic geniuses. And there's another evolution happening right now.
Yeah.
The evolution of the way people consume content. Right? It used to be radio. It used to be TV. But guess what? It's not like that anymore. Now it's podcasts. Now it's YouTube. Now it's Netflix. So let me ask you guys a question out there as we wrap this up. We're all about the evolution of the way people take in content. Let me ask you a question. Have you evolved? So anyways, yeah, so that's our story. I mean, we talked about everything from our lives to travel to our creative self to photography to experiences to following your bliss to everything you can possibly imagine. And like we said, our goal is to inspire people to go out there and follow their bliss. And please go to our Instagram and follow us at Bliss Seekers. That's with 3 S's, Bliss Seekers. Right there.
Right there.
Please like and subscribe. our YouTube channel. Please click the little button so you'll get the updates, and yeah, tell your friends about us. And this is what we're all about. We're gonna bring you lots of experiences, lots of stories, lots of people following their bliss. And we just want to inspire people and show you that it can happen. And you know what? If you stay true to yourself, if you're in alignment with who you truly are, and you cannot fail in your purpose. So I challenge you guys out there. This is the journey we're going to take you on. Our goal is to be the #1 podcast in the world. Our goal is to have millions of people leaving a life that doesn't make them happy and following their bliss. And stay tuned. Next episode, you'll have more of that. And any last words?
Well, I just want to say, definitely follow yourself. Like you said, no one's going to live your life. Nobody else but you. At the end of the day, it's your choice. It's your decision. It's your time. And guess what? We don't get to live forever. Every single day we're growing. So might as well evolve and follow your heart. Listen to your heart. Talk to your heart. Listen to your heart. And at the end of the day, it's all about you. So what are you going to do for this while you're living here on planet Earth? What will you do for the rest of your life? That's something to think about. Exactly. Have fun.
Have fun and follow your bliss. All right, guys. See you in the next one.